This is the Boonedox Outfitter. It allows you to transport 2 kayaks, double-decker style, or 1 kayak up to 115 pounds in weight on top of the bed rail. And you can still put all your gear inside the bed. You still get to close the tailgate. Yes. So one of the nicest things about the Outfitter is that when you're done using it, you can just collapse it. It goes back to being a regular pickup truck. The T-Bone bed extender is a great option when you just have to transport 1 fairly large kayak in the bed of your truck. You can even get 2 narrower kayaks back in there. But if you're transporting something more, say 2 very large kayaks, or even a large kayak and 2 smaller ones, you need something other than the T-Bone. And that's where the Boonedox Outfitter comes into play. What I'm going to show you here today is the installation and different configurations that you can come up with using the Boonedox Outfitter. Alright, my plan is to actually use the Outfitter, which is going to live in this space, in conjunction with the T-Bone. My plan is to put my Hobie Pro Angler on the lower level and my Innovative Sportsman inflatable on the upper level. Let's open this up, dig in, look at all the parts and the tools required to assemble it. Alright, looks like all my hardware checks out, and these larger pieces are all where they need to be. So we'll go ahead and jump in and start putting it together. Tools needed: socket set, couple of adjustable wrenches, tape measure, rubber mallet. Let's look at all these big pieces. We're going to find the bow stop rail. That's this guy right here. We're going to be putting a bracket on these two holes right here in the center. Let's go ahead and set that over here. The hardware for that is right here, and this bracket is basically going to go on like that, using that hardware, and this piece is going to go in there with this hardware. So you are going to need a deep socket, 1/2 inch, because you're going to need to go down in there. It looks like it needs a little bit of help to get through that narrow tolerance. Alright, that's starting to stick out. It's not threaded, it's just tight. And we'll go ahead and put that on there. Put the lock nut on there. See if I can get a nut on the other side. Alright, so there's several steps in this assembly that really do call for 2 different sockets. This one's a bit overkill. Not really working on the tractors here. Yep, that doesn't even fit. I think I'll use the adjustable wrench. But there are several steps that really do want you to have 2 socket sets. Is this one of them? I don't know. I think I'm getting by with the adjustable wrench. Okay, that's sufficiently tight. We're gonna take this big old rubber block, set it in there. There's only one bolt that's this large. It's going through the bracket and the block. We'll go ahead and tighten that down. So now that we have the bracket and the bumper on the bow stop rail, we're going to attach the bow stop rail to these 2 bridge rails, these 2 L-shaped pieces here that have that 45-degree angle right there. I'm going to lift these up because we got to get them 24 inches apart in order to put that on. So there's 3 different positions that you can have this bow stop rail at. There's a top, middle, and bottom. For the purposes of the boat that I think I'm going to have here, which is my inflatable kayak, I think the bottom is the one that makes the most sense. If I were putting the Pro Angler here, I think I would want it all the way up at the top. So make a judgment call, understanding that your kayak is going to be in this area. And the purpose of this is to stop the kayak from going through your rear window if you're rear-ended. So let this thing meet the leading edge of your kayak to prevent that from happening. So it's sort of a tricky thing you're doing here, getting this cross member up here where you're having to, I mean, you need either an extension or a deep socket here, but you also need one up in here. So really what I got are 2 different sockets with the, that are deep sockets. Both of them 1/2 inch, or you can use an extension. Either way, it's kind of a tricky thing we're doing here. And honestly, this is where I wouldn't be afraid to ask for someone's help lining all this up. But I am going to get this part started. Yeah, I think coming in the backside here, I'm going to use just the extension so that the lock nut doesn't slide up in there. It's right where I need it to be. And I also changed my mind. I think I'm going to the middle hole. That way, if I have a plastic boat as opposed to inflatable, I'm somewhere in the right range. Take this and hold it up right there. Yep. I'm gonna try and line this up. Hopefully that's gonna grab. I think it is.
Why you sound so surprised?
I don't know. Things don't always work out first shot. Okay, I'm good as long as I get my socket out of there. Yep. Came out clean. Good. That is attached. We'll go ahead and repeat that on the other side. But this is how I ended up doing it. One extension, one deep socket. So next you're going to grab the kayak support bar, the larger U-bolts and the plates that go with those U-bolts, and the larger lock nuts. You're going to place that kayak support bar about 12 inches from the back end of the whole assembly. Next, you're going to drop the U-bolt over that juncture, kind of diagonally. You're going to take this plate and put it underneath, and you're going to fasten the lock nuts to the bottom side of that. Looks like you might need a deep socket for this. Yep, that's better. Deep socket, 9/16. Alright, so I've just figured out that you don't want to get one side all the way tight before you get the other one started. You gotta sort of keep things even, get both sides going, and then tighten the whole thing. Otherwise, this likes to shift uneven like this. So let me go ahead and get the other one started here, and we'll tighten each of them gradually. So it does take some remeasuring and finagling and making sure that everything is even and lined up the way it needs to be. I've got all 4 of the bolts just a little bit snug, but now I'm gonna kind of alternate sides the way you do putting a tire on, just to make sure that things don't pull out of alignment. Before you call this good, you're gonna need to measure there. Looks like I got 23 3/8, and here where I have 24. So I'm a little bit pigeon-toed in towards the end. I've loosened these up some, and I'm just gonna get in here with a rubber mallet and knock it out to the side. See if that adjustment gave me that little more than ½ inch I needed. And I'm getting there, 23.5. I'm gonna make sure that this is 24, just like it's 24 up there, before I proceed. So I've put the truck attachment bars on the rails of the bed. So once these bars are on the rail of the truck bed, the small holes are going to be facing up, and on the bottom we have these larger holes. The larger holes are there because we're going to need to get these nuts up inside there, and we're going to use our extension here again. And the larger holes allow us to get that socket up in there, and we're going to lay the outfitter assembly here on top, and then this bar is going to come down on it and attach to the lock nut that's on the inside. Alright, at this point we want to get the outfitter assembly on top of the 2 bars. And you can decide whether you want it left, middle, or right. I think I'm gonna have mine right in the center. All right, I'm sitting down in the truck. I've actually jumped ahead 2 steps to show you what the final product or what the final installation should look like. And then I'll show you the rest and the hardware in the right places. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is the outfitter assembly is as far forward. It's basically contacting the front of the bed there and there. And then these 2 attachment bars to get you to get the whole assembly onto the truck. They're on there with, now I got to find the right hardware. This J-hook, this is what is, if you look right up inside there. That upside down candy cane, it's right there. And then you got the hardware up top. So that's gonna be second. The first thing we do is attach the Outfitter frame itself to this cross member. So we're gonna use this square U-bolt. It's gonna go just like I did on this side. It's gonna drop down. It's kind of snug. So with a series of taps, nudges, and kind of centering the pieces together to get alignment, you should be able to get this in there. All right. Get that. That's not going down yet. Yep, it's going to come that way. Yep. That wants to drop. Just there. I'm going to use the extension again. We're going to go ahead and put our hardware in there. Get that lock nut ready. This is going to go up underneath it. Yep, I can feel that starting to grab. I'm gonna leave that side alone. Go ahead and do the other one. I like to do a little bit on one side and a little bit on the other. But let's go ahead and get this right side started. There it is. So at some point, the bolt comes down far enough that this is no longer helpful. You need the deep socket. So transition from the extension, which you need in order to push the nut far enough up in there to grab the threads when you start it. But once you get further along, switch to the deep socket. And that will finish it for you. So I've actually done everything up at the front, and it's on there sort of loose, but I have a J-hook here, and you gotta sort of look up underneath there to make sure that you have real estate to hook up in there that's solid. You don't want it to just hook onto some plastic piece, or, you know, this rail is actually pretty solid, and it's hooked up in there. I couldn't go further up here because there was nowhere to have purchase, so this was my spot. Did the same thing on the other side here, and moving towards the back, we'll have to find something similar. That's the hardware we're working with. We'll go ahead and see if we can get that positioned appropriately at the back of the bed. So set the washer and the lock nut aside, and all I'm looking for is this part to hook up inside something. It's gonna really be forced upward, and I think inside of this track here is it. So I will align this with one of the holes, and typically you do one side and it goes pretty easy. It's the other side where you have to do some, I'll just say, convincing. I broke out the sledgehammer to knock the bar in that direction on the last one I did. So, all right, I'm just aligning that. I want the tip of the hook tucked up in there, and this is not the sledgehammer, but it's the mallet. I can see the top of the bolt is right there, and it's about to come up. That's the easy one. I've got purchase. So put my washer on there, got my locking nut, and as long as I get that started, I'm in good shape. And yeah, that's started. Don't go all the way. The reason we don't go all the way is that we are going to need to move this side to side for the other side to align with its J-hook. Now, because there's not an infinitely adjustable number of these slots, in your truck bed may want to be a little bit off center with that. We'll show you the use of the sledgehammer a little bit later. Just be careful. Famous last words. So I'm trying to hook in the same spot as I did on the other, and it seems that this tie down is in the way. So I'm gonna move my tie down so that I can get a good position on this. So this really wasn't aligned. I checked from the end of the bed on the other side was about 14.5, which is arbitrary. I mean, it's just where this needs to be for that J-hook to find a good home. So we got 14.5 on this side now, and let's get our J-hook up underneath there, see if we can come straight up. Be lucky if we do it. Let's come up right there. So, where does it? It doesn't want to come up there, but that's where I need it to come up. So I'm gonna get my small hammer, tap upward and in. It's getting near the top. And that's pushed up against the top. You can, I don't know if you can see, but it's too far in that direction. So what am I gonna do? I think I'm gonna use a sledgehammer on the other side and push it in this. Let's see if I can just pull it. We're close. Yeah, I'm gonna massage it on the other side with the sledgehammer. Okay. Let's see if that did it. It's gonna need a little more love. Got it. That's what I needed. Just that little bit. All right, let's get the washer and just get this started. Hopefully I haven't mangled it too bad to the point where it won't grab. I think it's grabbing though. Yep, we're good. So at this point, none of it is really tightened all the way. Before I get too much further, I got 2 more of these to put on the rear portion of the Outfitter assembly. tell you, getting this last one aligned is the toughest one. I may have to loosen this to get this to slide over, but I think I got them aligned. I'm gonna give it a couple more good whacks. Yep. Going down. Yes. Good hammer to have. All right. Let's find that hardware, get it in there. So now that all of my threads are started, I can go back and tighten all of them. So everything is started. None of it's really tight. So I'll tighten this, go to the front, do the other brackets, and then go in and do all the J hooks, get them good and snug. But you definitely want to keep things loose throughout this process until the end, and then just work your way around, tighten everything up. All right, everything is tightened down. I want you to look at this. This should be where there's a little bit of a nub of the J hook sticking up. That's really what these things are for. But because mine hooks so deep, I can't even get this on there. But if you have a shallower attachment point for your J hook, these protect anything you would slide up here or store up here from getting scratched. But I'm pretty flush, so I'm in good shape. I do have these though, and we're gonna put each of these in the end. It's another good use for that rubber mallet, or just the palm of your hand. I think I'm gonna save my wrist on this go. Definitely want them up here. So these two pieces are gonna attach, well, this will attach to the top of it. We got some U-bolts. We'll go ahead and drop these U-bolts right down on top on both sides, and we got some hardware to come up from the bottom. So at first with the extension, and then later with the deep socket. All right, so with all this tightened in, I get to show you what the Outfitter is really about, which is basically creating a T-bone for the top of your bed rail. It extends way out beyond it. I'm just trying to get these holes aligned. How far out can I go? Let's see. I got these clips here that are going to go into these holes once I get it all aligned. But I'm putting the inflatable in, which is not very heavy, but it is very long. Oh, I saw it. Yep. Here's one. And I'll do the other in just a moment and get the inflatable top side and then the Pro Angler underneath. So this, when it's fully extended, will handle about 115 pounds. Seems like it was made perfect for that inflatable, which is far less than 115 pounds. With your heavier kayaks, you definitely want them on the bottom with the T-bone, but with the Outfitter, you can go topside and carry 2 double-decker style. So it looks like it wants to be right about there. And at this point, you can strap it in with whatever tie-down straps you got as you normally would. I think I might go down to the lower ones. Yep. Probably should have done this one first, but it's time to see if that Pro Angler fits underneath. Yep, we're in. Double decker. I like it. Thanks for watching.